Hello. I'm Reverend Laura Horton-Ludwig, the mostly remote minister of this wonderful congregation, zooming in today from my home in Williamsburg, Virginia, along with my dog Marina and my cat Harley. And this is a story which is both true and imagined. Some 1500 years ago, on the Isle of Ireland, not so very far from the city of Dublin today, a child named Kevin was born. As he grew, it became clear that Kevin had a very special bond with animals. When he got a little older, his parents sent him to a monastery to learn how to read and write and become a monk. But what he really loved was being out in nature with the animals. And eventually he made his home in the beautiful valley of Glendalough in a cave along the shore of a lake. I'd like to share a picture of Glendalough with you now. Here we are. This is this beautiful valley of Glendalough. It's not so very unlike the mountains of Santa Cruz, a little greener, a little more water perhaps. You can see perhaps why he loved it. The stories tell us that Kevin wore animal skins for clothes, and he only ate what he could gather from the trees and plants around him. Many people visited him there, and so many of them were drawn to stay that he founded a monastery that became one of the most famous in all Ireland. The monastery was known for its learning, but still, Kevin was happiest when he was outside. It is said that once he dropped his book of Psalms into the lake by accident, and an otter swam up and brought it back to him unharmed. But the most famous legend about Kevin is this. One day he was praying with his arms spread out like this, and he was so quiet and still for so long that a little blackbird came and perched on his cupped palm and built her nest in his hand and laid her egg. And Saint Kevin, for he did become known as a saint, stayed there, it is said, with his arms out for many days until the egg was hatched and the little baby bird was strong enough to fly away. I'm going to share one more image with you, an image of a sculpture of Saint Kevin. Here he is, sheltering this little bird. I wonder what it would take to care so much and stand so still. There's a poem about this story. It's by the great contemporary Irish poet Seamus Heaney. And it goes like this. It's called St. Kevin and the Blackbird. And then there was St. Kevin and the blackbird. The saint is kneeling, arms stretched out inside his cell. But the cell is narrow, so one turned up palm is out the window, stiff as a crossbeam. When a blackbird lands and lays in it and settles down to nest. Kevin feels the warm eggs, the small breast, the tucked neat head and claws, and finding himself linked into the network of eternal life, is moved to pity. Now he must hold his hand like a branch out in the sun and rain for weeks until the young are hatched and fledged and flown. And since the whole thing's imagined anyhow, imagine being Kevin. Which is he, self-forgetful or in agony all the time, from the neck on out down through his hurting forearms? Are his fingers sleeping? Does he still feel his knees? Or has the shut-eyed blank of under earth crept up through him? Is there distance in his head? Alone and mirrored clear in love's deep river, to labor and not to seek reward, he prays. A prayer his body makes entirely, for he has forgotten self, forgotten bird, and on the river bank, forgotten the river's name. One day, about 10 years ago now, I was in the kitchen at the front of our house when I heard a big thump against the front door. I opened the door to see what had happened, and there was a tiny little brown bird lying on the mat and shivering. He'd hit the door really hard, and he was hurt. So right away, I called out for my husband, John, who was at home as well. John is a massage therapist, and I'd remembered that just the other day he had told me about a colleague he knew who had used some bodywork techniques to help an injured rabbit. And a rabbit's not the same as a bird, but I thought maybe John could help this little bird. So John scooped up the little bird very, very carefully, and we brought him into the bathroom where he could be safe from our cat, around whom he would not have been safe. And John could see that this little bird's beak was kind of messed up. The lower part of it was at kind of a weird angle. And we knew that if this beak thing didn't get fixed, this little bird would not be able to eat or drink, and he would die. And so John held the bird gently, 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 and slowed his own breathing. And with one finger, he pressed against the beak, gently, gently. And with his other hand, he pressed the part of the beak that was hurt and just held the pressure. And after a minute, the lower beak popped back into place. It was really wonderful to see. We set up a shoebox then with some newspaper for bedding where this little birdie could rest. After a couple of hours, John tried giving him some water by putting just a drop on his fingertip and holding it near the bird's mouth, and he drank. I want to show you this little birdie. We have pictures. So this is this little friend. This was on the first day that he was with us. Kind of freaked out. But over the next 4 days, John nursed the little birdie back to health. He fed him by hand with a little syringe and some liquid bird food. And by day 5, he was feeling much better, as this next picture will demonstrate. Here he is. This is my husband with the bird on his head. The bird just wanted to sit on his head and hang out. So this little birdie had started to fly around the bathroom, and we knew that it was time to let him go back outside. So John took him out to the front steps and put him down gently. But the little guy just sat there. He was probably kind of weirded out about being outside again. So after a minute, John took him out to the backyard and helped him find a perch on the top of our pergola. Once again, the little birdie sat there for quite a while. And John sat with him. John took his eyes off him for just a minute. And when he looked back, our little birdie friend was gone and flown away. But John swears he would see him now and again in the backyard over the next few months, just coming back to say hi. And for me, watching this bird rescue unfold, it was a holy thing. Watching John take such tender care of that little bird, it would have been so easy to say, one little bird doesn't matter. It's sad. Oh, well. But John chose to drop everything and take care of that bird right in front of him who needed help. I'm just getting a message that y'all lost me in the sanctuary. I'm not sure how long it got lost. Let me just check in. AV folks, can you just check in about the last thing that you were able to hear? And I'll just pause for a moment and maybe we'll give a brief recap. Let's see. Tech folks, thank you so much. You do so much work and it's so complicated. We really appreciate you. All right. I'm not seeing anything yet. So, well, we'll just go for it and we'll just do our best. Okay. Oh, I'm hearing a microphone issue. Just gonna wait for just a moment.
Um,
The last phrase we heard was, she might, and then John was.
Massage therapist.
Oh my goodness, you missed a lot. Oh no. Okay. Let me tell you then I'm gonna share my screen around again and I'm gonna tell you the story in a couple sentences with pictures. So little bird, very hurt. I'm sharing my screen now. We took in the little bird. My husband gave him some body work to fix his beak. And he did recover. So this was the little birdie on day 1. And by day 5, this was the little birdie back to health. And we did release him back into the wild. And as far as we know, he made it. So that's the story in brief. And I think where you caught back up to me was where I was reflecting that it meant a lot to take care of that little creature who needed help. So when I told my husband that I wanted to tell this story alongside the story of St. Kevin and the blackbird, he was appalled. He was like, "Oh, Lord, I'm not a saint. Please, no." And I can say that is true. He is not a saint. He's a great person, but we're all imperfect. However, here is what I believe. I believe that it is a holy thing to save the littlest life. And I believe that every life is holy, no matter how small. As you all know, tomorrow will be the 1-year anniversary of the Hamas attack on Israel, which has led to so much suffering, so many innocent people killed, and so many of them children. Small lives, holy lives. And so as we observe our blessing of the animals today, let us all remember the larger meaning of this joyful ritual. And it's a declaration that every being is holy, every creature, every person, all holy, all deserving of our tenderest protection, and all worthy of our love. So may it be. Blessed be.